Does your D&D combat grind to a halt when you have to do all this adding of numbers and math and dice?
I can't math.
Don't worry, little Kyle. We have a solution for you. Today we're going to teach you how to make Dungeons & Dragons combat at any level much, much faster.
Much faster.
Much faster.
So much faster.
All right, and how do we do this? Well, it's really simple. I'm going to tell you right now. Just order our PDF for $4.99.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, seriously. This is what you do. Normally, what bogs down combat at high level D&D is rolling many dice for damage, generally. And when you add things like smite, like sneak attacks, you have to do a lot of head math.
Extra attacks.
Yeah, extra attacks. You're doing
Bonus
2, 3, 4 attacks,
actions.
reactions.
Reactions.
You're just every combat, every turn, every individual player turn becomes overlong, especially after level 5.
Now, mind you, some people enjoy this process. We are not hating on you. We are trying to talk about the people who want to focus a little bit more on roleplay, and also because that's what we do. We are trying to bring you the best content that we can bring, and based off of the polls that we've done and polling our own players, we have decided that we think that the best way to present you content is to make combat as clippy as possible.
And even if you're not a content creator like us,
yes,
you can still do it at your table. And we've tried it. It's fast. I don't even think I'm going to go back to it, even if I were playing, just normally around the table. All right, so what do? So the first thing you want to do, you have 2 options. The first is you roll damage ahead of time. All right, so think about like the portent die for
Hera
Wizard.
started doing this.
Yeah, or Rogue just started to do, she has like
She's been doing it
12d6
for,
sneak attack
like,
plus
2
all this
years.
other stuff. Yeah, roll damage ahead of time. This damage can be rolled ahead of time. If you want, you can roll it before the session even starts, as in like set up an array, like get a piece of paper or something, a digital Word document, whatever it is, and roll some of your regular rolls, right? Let's say you just do, you have a great sword attack plus some smites, right? Do those and do like 4 or 5 or 6, maybe check your DM ahead of time.
Variations too. If you can be like, this is what I like. If I want to cast this spell, this is what the rolls would be. You're rolling damage, just damage.
Just damage. Yeah, this is just strictly for damage, which is the biggest part of the calculations that can kind of slow things down, especially with so many dice. So fireball, roll 4 or 5 fireballs in advance and have that array, and just either go through them or check the DM to see how they want to do it. Maybe they just want to. You can choose the best and the worst, or whatever you want to do.
Well, no. What she does is she then, when we're in combat, she rolls to hit, and she goes in order. So like if she misses, she crosses off the first hit. And if she hits, she crosses it off. So it's like you're still rolling them in the same order. It's just they're separate events, essentially.
I think that's fantastic. So, yeah, that's one of the best ways to do it. And if you don't want to roll before the session, you can even roll when it's not necessarily your turn, when there's a lull in the action or something like that. Do a quick roll and incorporate that. Put in your sheet, and then if it works, great. If not, just cross it off. And your turn, I promise, especially like level 5+ or even earlier than that, will go very, very much faster.
Yeah.
Okay, the other option, so that's like a pre-rolling, all right? Yes. That's a way to make combat faster with a damage time. The other way, and this is a way that you can already see in the Dungeon Master's guide. It's
for DMs.
For DMs, and especially for monsters, but I think it's a possibility for players too, and we're doing this, is to go ahead and do the average damage of your roll, the high end of the average damage. So you do just like we do for hit points.
And I think that this is especially, I will say, I think that this method is especially good for high level campaigns. I personally, in a lower level campaign, I'm going to want the variance or a little bit more variance. So I would probably do the other method. But in a high level, like, you're going to be doing consistent damage pretty much all the time. Like, it's hard not to. And there are ways to add variance into that.
Yeah, so when you have with this method, so for example, in the DM's manual, when you see like a monster stat block, you already see kind of like, if this monster does 1d6 plus like 5, it always shows you that the average damage so it's the average like rounded up basically, right? Just like you do for hit points, as I mentioned. So if you have a D8 hit point, you do 5, right? If you have a D10 hit point, you do 6? No?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So same thing. So monster will show like it just does, you can either have it do 1d8 plus 6 or just have it do 7 damage, straight up. So every hit would just be 7 damage, 7 damage, 7 damage. You can maybe throw in some variance if you want by like rolling an extra die or something, or you can just kind of do it straight like that.
And that doesn't have to take away from the combat experience. In fact, it often adds to it. Because
it goes,
you are not, it's not just about speeding through combat, it's about focusing on the fun parts of combat, which is describing your combat. I promise you are going to have so much more fun at the table if you really get into the nitty-gritty of how you stab the jugular of that orc or anything, or how the fireball rains down and cascades across the room, nearly singeing your party members. You're going to have more fun.
Your party's going to appreciate having the extra time and having that role play, that visceral role play, just come into the table, because you don't have to worry about saying, okay, what's 3 plus 7 plus 10 plus 8 plus 9, or whatever. Who knows at level 20 how much you're rolling, how many attacks you have. So do these two things. So either pre-roll your damage, right, ahead of time, get an array, and use that, or have the average damage, kind of like monster stat blocks. You can do that for players. It's just as easy. And just that way you're kind of doing, combat will be much less swingy. In that way, and you'll be able to be focused and have a lot more time for role play and less time of people watching you do math.
And the other thing that you can do is, if you want to do the average damage, but you want to have a little bit more variance in it, you can say you roll 3d6 for your attack plus your modifier. So say it's 3d6 plus 5, right? So you take the average damage of 2d6 plus 5, and then when it comes to combat, you roll one of those d6s and you add whatever that number is that you rolled, if you want to have some variance there. That's another thing that you can do. So just a thought.
Awesome. So lots of great tactics here, and trust us, incorporate this. You can see it at our tables, literally the newest episodes of Chronicles of Legends here at Green and Garb.
Yep,
we use this, and immediately you see how much more fluid combat is. I mean, just it's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. So test it out at least at your table, see if you like it. Maybe you don't have to do it for first level, but at higher levels, give it a shot. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And a couple more quick tips.
Bonus tips for making combat faster. Hit us, Kyle.
Stay engaged at the table.
Yes.
Pay attention to what other people are doing so that you can... that doesn't mean that you can't be thinking about what you're doing next, but stay focused. Stay and keep your strategy talk in character. It gets so derailed when someone starts saying, no, you should do this spell.
Yeah, that's true.
No, keep it in character. If you want to tell somebody in character that you think they should cast a spell, do it, but do it in character.
100%. We also recommend you familiarize yourself with the system in general, especially the combat portion.
Your DM will love you.
Yeah. So there's less unnecessary questions have to be asked, because sometimes you're in the heat of the battle, right? And you're like, oh wait, does this spell do X or Y, or how many feet is this? And if that's the case, just let your DM give you decide what that how that works in their world, right? And you just go with that. Maybe look it up later and then come to a concession afterwards.
Yes.
But overall, if you're familiar with the system, you're going to find that you won't have to question things so much, and you'll be able to go with the flow and narrate, role play, and
yeah. You can also give time limits. That's another thing that you can do.
Yeah.
You can kind of give a rough idea of a time limit for each character, or as the DM, you can be like, okay, you need to make a decision now, or we're gonna move on.
Yeah, and maybe they can take their turn at some other point.
It's like in The Witcher, where it's like most of the time you get to make the choice, but sometimes it's like you have 15 seconds to make this choice.
Oh yeah, for the deciding in the character dialogue. Yeah, fantastic. So I think that's most everything. So let strategize in character.
Oh, one more thing. I love this point that you have written out.
Yes.
This is across the board. This is not just for combat. The only person who should be opening the rulebook at your table is the DM.
Yes.
Just don't do it. Just don't fight with your DM. Just don't do it. It's just not worth it. It's going to make it tense and not fun. And you can have the fight afterwards. I mean, you can get into it about this, about the rules. We've had very intense conversations about how the rules go and how they should be written, and reading what Chris Perkins has said and all this stuff.
Oh, Jeremy Crawford, yeah. That's true.
But when you're play, and the DM will make a ruling, and then you can assess later and be like, oh, my ruling was wrong, so going forward we're going to do it this way. But get off the table. And
the DM's not there to kill you most of the time, so you're going to be all right.
Unless it's me.
Anyway, so definitely the main idea here was to try to cut down on that, on all the rolling and all the math. And you're going to find your combat is much more fluid, much more pleasant, much more time for role play. Everyone at the table is going to love it, and it's going to go. Turns going to go quicker, and you're just going to have a great time with this.
And it also means if you love combat that you can get through more combat if you play this.
More combat.
So
wonderful. So I hope this was helpful for you. And this extra little advice. If you have other advice for players or DMs, leave in the comments below. Let us know what you think about this stuff. Are you going to try it or not? So thank you for watching.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.